Hey, it's Marthea Pitts, the MSW coach, and I'm back for another episode of my podcast, Macro Social Work Your Way. Trying to put my lip chap up. Hey, do you struggle with healthy boundaries in your professional life? If so, this podcast episode is for you. And I'm not going to talk about any of the things that you think I'm going to talk about. I'm going to talk about how learning to have healthy boundaries in your professional life starts in your personal life. And I'm going to be honest with you for a moment. You may not even be in a place yet to acknowledge that you struggle with maintaining or establishing healthy boundaries in your personal life. So you may not willingly soak in what I'm getting ready to tell you, but that's okay. I still want you to listen to the episode because me talking to you about this topic will help bring awareness to the thing, which will then at some point start the process of you thinking more deeply or looking at your life more critically to see where can I do things a little bit different to, or even identify, do you struggle with healthy boundaries? Because a lot of people try to start with establishing healthy boundaries in their professional life and struggle with it because they haven't had the proper time to I say practice and hone those skills. And I always say that it starts in your personal life. So yesterday, we were having a conversation in the Micro to Macro Career Accelerator, and I was talking to the cohorts about the fact that healthy boundaries really does start in your personal life. And one thing for me that I can always say, and people say about me regardless of when I worked with them 5, 10, 15 years ago, they will always say like Marthea is super good at maintaining boundaries, right? Like I do that with my colleagues, my leadership, with the people that I'm serving, right? We are in a business relationship and that's what it's gonna be. You will never catch me being the person up there showing pictures of my children, of my child. Ooh, come on, Lord. Am I gonna have another baby? You'll never see me up there showing pictures of my child. You'll never hear me in there talking about the T-ball game that happened last night. None of that, right? We're only talking about this work and whatever me and you have going on in this business relationship. But I want to be clear though, the reason I got really, really good at doing that in my professional life is because I started years before doing it in my personal life. And so I'm not going to get into all the details about why and how and all of the things, but I want to just say that um, usually when you struggle with boundaries in your professional life, and I've seen this kind of across the board, it is something that you learned either silently or loudly to do or not to do in your personal life. And in order to really master it, you have to get to the root of the problem, right? You have to go back to the origins and you have to establish it there. You can't show up as the stellar persona in your professional life and you're not doing it in your personal life. It doesn't work like that. Again, your work life and your career life does intertwine when you are in not so high quality, high paying jobs. Now, the more you move up the career ladder, the more authority you get, the more money you're making, um, the more proactive you become in your career as far as deciding what jobs you want to take and all of the things, the more you can separate the two, depending on like your ranking in the organization. However, though, when you are in the early stages of your career, maybe in the mid stages of your career, maybe you are just learning to think more deeply about your career and really taking charge of it. Um, it's hard to separate the two. That's my point. So I want to say that for what I've noticed for people, including me, when I used to be this person 20 some years ago, is that boundaries in your personal life is a thing when you are a people pleaser. So I'm gonna give some examples of how people pleasing looked for me because it was very, I wasn't aware of the term people pleaser back in the day. I'm just gonna say that. It's a lot of terms that I wasn't aware of. I wasn't even aware of the term boundaries when I was starting, when I was establishing and maintaining healthy boundaries in my life and my personal life. I didn't even know that was a thing. I didn't learn about that until maybe like 10, 15 years later, one day listening to Oprah talk about it on the internet, the book Boundaries, right? So for me, what it looked like back in the day was that I was very, very, very concerned about what people thought about me, about how people felt about me, about do people like me. I spent a lot of time not necessarily trying to get people to like me, but I spent a lot of time avoiding places or situations where I felt that people would be critical about me, right? Um, how do I explain it? So I spent a lot of time. I want to go back to high school, but I think I'm gonna go to early adulthood because I have one explicit story that I can talk about. I had a homegirl who back in the day, she would on Friday nights, she would go like to the local Chili's. Was it Chili's? Chili's, Applebee's, whatever was hot back then. She would go to the local Chili's and Applebee's because I was working my night job. I was a stay-at-home mom then, but I worked a job on the weekends and at night at Yellow Cab. And I remember one night she came up there because she was out and about. Her daughter was with family members, like, over at a birthday sleepover party or whatever the theme may have been. And she stopped by my job and she was like, "Oh," I said, "What you getting ready to do?" And she was like, "I'm getting ready to go to Chili's to go eat dinner." And it was like 7, 8 p.m. or something like that. It was dark outside. I said, "You going out to eat by yourself?" Right? That was my first response. And she was like, "Yeah." I was like, "I could never do that." And like we got in a whole conversation about it. She was encouraging me to do it. Like, you should do it, right? And so looking back now, and even back then, I spent a lot of time trying to understand why I was so against going out to eat by myself. And it was ultimately because of the things I experienced in school where I was super concerned about people liking me, so much so that I didn't put myself out in spaces or in situations to be scrutinized, to be critiqued. I also had a situation where in high school and even in my early years in college where I would like enter a room and I always felt like people was laughing at me or people were not laughing at me, but talking about me. Like the minute I walk in the room, I'm like, "Oh, they talking about me." And so today, I think y'all call it social anxiety. I used to feel that like a lot. And I wouldn't go places. Like I wouldn't go to football games. And you know how in high school you have football games. I wouldn't go to football games. I wouldn't go to basketball games. And mind you, I had no concrete reason to feel this way. However, though I was real shy, super, 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 super shy in school. Always had been. Until I had my daughter, and then that had to change. But so like I spent a lot of time worrying about if someone was talking about me. I never had an incident where I knew people were talking about me. I never experienced the thing. I wasn't the type of girl who had people, if I was fighting in high school, none of that. I just never was popular. So fast forward present adult Marthea, how that translated was in my personal life, I was very concerned about how my family members saw me, how they received me, what they thought about me. Even though I was an adult, I've always been the person that colored in the lines, always. My mama can tell you I was not a problem child. I did not have situations and issues where she down at the school every week and doing whatever. It wasn't that. I was a very well-mannered, I've been very reserved and all of the things. So fast forward as an adult, when I got out on my own, I was always highly, 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 highly concerned about the decisions that I was making in my adult life. Mind you, now I'm surviving, the epitome of survival, right? I was houseless for a while. I was surviving, but I still was concerned about what my family thought about me, or what would they think if I did this, and what would they think if I did this, or what would they think if I was with this person, even though I'm clearly on my own. So I share that to say, like, it did not start later in life. And it most likely is the same for you. It did not start at work. It started somewhere before, right? And we're not going to get super deep as to why that even became a thing for me, because I know y'all ain't ready for that conversation. But I just wanted to show like that lack of boundaries is in a place earlier in your life outside of work. So I'm gonna give some examples of how lack of boundaries showed up for me as a young adult. So as a young adult, I had been on my own for several years at this point. Like I always tell you, I don't have a backup plan. I don't have a family house that I can go to in case things go awry. I don't have a spouse whose income I can fall back on. Never have. It's always only been me, right? I am the head of household, have been for a long, long, long time since I've been an adult. So, what it would look like is that I had a family member who, and this is around the time where I was working multiple jobs. I was going to the community college, getting my AA degree. I was doing a lot. I'm raising a whole human over here, a whole human. I'm paying for after school, daycare, depending on what part of the life cycle are we talking about. And this family member would essentially like schedule out my whole weekend, like my days off. They would schedule it out. They would say, you're gonna be over here to do my hair at blah at 6 a.m. 7 a.m. on Saturday morning. And then from there, you're gonna come over here and you're gonna help me clean this. And then you're gonna mind you now, I'm super grown. I'm super grown at this point. I had to be like 24, 24, 24. I'm super grown at this point. I've been on my own for probably like 6, 7 years. I'm super grown. And so they're like, you're gonna come over here and you're gonna do this, and then you're gonna do this, and then on Sunday you're gonna come over and do this with me, and then you're gonna do this, and you're gonna do this, right? So because I was people pleasing, because this relationship with this person, and I'm just gonna say who the person was. I kind of alluded to it yesterday in the coaching call. Why is my neighbor out here playing Adina Howard? It's so loud. It's happening right now. I know y'all can't hear it, and I ain't even gonna say what song. It is a Monday afternoon. They are in the mood, okay? If you playing a Dina Howard t-shirt, that's all I'm gonna say. It is Monday afternoon at 6:13 p.m. in the evening. Actually, it's 5:13 p.m. What is happening? Because my time is wrong on my computer. So anyway, that has really disturbed me. It's Monday. It's Monday. You just got off work. You didn't even put off work 13 minutes. You ready, huh? Okay. So anyway, supposed to be a serious conversation. What is happening right now? And y'all know I don't edit my podcast. What y'all do when y'all get off work at 5? Okay, okay. I see why y'all don't really be feeling me talking about careers at the 5 p.m. Okay. So anyway, so what I was talking about. Okay. So for this person, it was my mom. It was my mom. She would plan out my whole schedule. She would do all of the things, right? And so it got to a point where at first, because again, I'm highly concerned about what my family thinks about me, even though I've been on my own for 7 years, no one helps me financially, no one helps me do anything, again, not their responsibility. I'm a full grown adult. However, there was a lot of like hardness that was attached to this process. It wasn't like I willingly left on my own from my family, but that's a whole nother conversation for another time. So anyway, my mother, she would like plan out extensively. And for the first, I would say the first few years, I spent a lot of my time appeasing my mother and doing the things that she wanted, even though our relationship was strained. It was super strained. It's still strained to this point. I just have forgiven and moved on from that at this time. However, I spent a lot of time trying to appease my mother, trying to get her to see me, all of the things, even though I'm an adult at this point. And my childhood my mom was a great mom growing up. It was just a breakdown somewhere after high school with me and my mother's relationship. Again, that's a whole nother conversation for another day. But I just want you to know, like, if you are experiencing something with your family, I want you to know that it's not you. Like, it's a thing. And I'm going to talk about that another day. So anyway, I spend a lot of my time trying to appease my mother. Mind you, again, I'm still raising a whole human. I'm working multiple jobs. I'm taking classes at the community college. I'm navigating struggle life, the epitome of struggle life. At that time, probably was making like $900 every 2 weeks. It was a lot going. And so I found myself doing it for a few years. And then it got to the point where I would ask for things, like I would ask for, hey, could I borrow $5 for gas? Being that I enrolled way over here to help you with this thing, or I've done this thing for you, even if it wasn't attached to an immediate something I did, it would be like, I need $5 for 2 days. I get paid on Friday. It's Wednesday. I need to get to work and get my baby to school. Can I borrow $5? And I remember that was the pivotal moment for me, because the response back was everything that it shouldn't have been. I was criticized, I was scrutinized, I was questioned within an inch of my life as to why I didn't have $5, and just made to feel low, 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 low. Mind you, I'm making less than $900 2 weeks. I have an apartment. I never received any type of like housing assistance, not that I wanted to, because I love being self-sufficient and I'm not down to anybody that does, but I'm just painting the picture so you know, like I'm doing this myself. And so I was scrutinized about not having $5. When in reality, looking back at it, that was nothing but God. The reason I was able to do all of that with on a little to nothing that I had, right? So anyway, that was the moment for me when I had the wake up call of, it's just you, Marthea. It's just you, right? You have spent the last 2 years, even though this person has not been the kindest to you, you spent the last 2 years bending over backwards to appease them. And the time when you need something, they kick you, literally kicked me. You could, and this is not literal, like it's figuratively, like literally took the moment to kick me in my face. And that was the moment where I realized this is why I go so hard about a good job, about having jobs, and about knowing how to find jobs and knowing how to get a job, because that was my wake up call. Because I had nothing else at the time. I wasn't business minded at that moment because I was in survival mode. Even though I had people around me talking to me about starting businesses, because I did hair on the side. If you don't know, I used to love to do hair. Like, I wasn't thinking like that. I was just thinking about my state job and making my money and all of the things. So anyway, that was a wake up call that I needed of, Marthea, you need to establish some boundaries, because in essence, me spending those years doing all of those things every weekend for her left me burned out. I've gone through burnout before. I've been through burnout in my personal life way before I've experienced burnout in my professional life. If you want to be honest, I've experienced it. And so I remember sitting at my computer desk and saying, okay, okay. I wasn't angry. I wasn't upset. I wasn't mad. I wasn't crying. It was the realization of, oh, okay, this is how life is going to be, right? And that is when I adopted the stance of it ain't nobody but me and my baby. It ain't nobody but me and my baby. And so I did a podcast episode recently where I talked to you all about evaluating opportunity costs. This was before I learned about the term opportunity cost. So for me at this stage in my life, it became, how does this benefit me and her? Does it take away from me and her? If it does, I don't want to do it, right? So take away from me and her when it came to this relationship with my mother was I was tired after doing all of that. Then I had to come home on Sundays and clean because I used to clean my house top to bottom every Sunday. Like, because that's how I was raised. Every Sunday, I mean, I was washing baseboards and doing all of the things. Looking back at it, that was a form of busyness. I was low key, probably depressed, but that was how I worked through it because depression show up differently, especially in Black women. That's why I have such a disdain for the whole cleaning TikTok. Those people are depressed. However, it started off, I think, as them being depressed, and it now has morphed into it being a money-making, generating thing. But when I see those people doing it, especially women that look like me, and when I say look like me, I mean in every sense of the word, I'm not motivated by it. I don't want to do it. I used to be that person moving sofas in the middle of the night at 2, 3 a.m. in the morning to a homeboy of mine. I told him, I was like, yeah, I was up last night redecorating furniture. I feel like I told y'all this story before. And he was like, what's wrong with you? Because he was from like rural Georgia. He was like, what's on your mind, Marthea? Like, what you mean? Ain't nothing on my mind. He was like, you are moving furniture 2 in the morning. He's like, something on your mind. He's saying you need to figure it out, right? So that's how I knew at an early age, because I probably was like 20 at that time, 21. That's how I knew like how to recognize the signs of when I'm spiraling out of control and worriness, what it was, or being worried all the time. That was one of my early signs. So like the whole cleaning talk phenomenon that y'all love, that don't move me. Those whole cleaning motivation videos on YouTube, I don't want no part of that. No, thank you. I don't want it. Now I'm going on a tangent, but I saw this video one time on Instagram. I told somebody about this, and the mama was on there. She was showing the recording of the daughter being up at 2 a.m redecorating her room, and she was saying in the caption about how the daughter always do that. And everybody in the comments was like, oh, that is so wonderful. That is so great. And I was gonna leave my comment and I said, I'm gonna just let the people have it because they ain't ready to receive it, especially not the mama. Something is on your back, something is wrong, something is happening with your daughter, and it ain't, and you need to get to the root of it. Because why is your child, your growing teenage daughter, up cleaning her room 2 a.m. in the morning when she's supposed to be asleep because her body is growing, her hormones are doing all of the things, something is happening. But people don't be ready for that conversation because that's the surface level stuff that people like to deal with. They like to deal with, oh, the house is clean. Yeah, but why are you cleaning at 3 in the morning? What's happening? Don't you know 3 a.m. you're supposed to be asleep? It's like for a lot of y'all. I see y'all in my stories at 3 a.m. in the morning. What you thinking about? What's on your mind? Why you ain't rested? Your soul's supposed to be sleep. Your body, you're supposed to be resting. Let your soul rest. Let your mind rest. When you up in the middle of the night shopping and scrolling and shopping and scrolling, it's because you're worrying about something. You need to figure out what that is. You're supposed to be sleeping like a newborn baby 3 o'clock in the morning. My child, she be sleeping so hard, I have to go in there. She's like, hey, tone it down just a little bit. No, I don't disturb her when she sleep. But your children should not be up in the middle of the night cleaning. Neither should you. But anyway, I done went on a tangent. What was I talking to y'all about? Boundaries. So with boundaries, yeah, I learned early on. So at that moment, I had a paradigm shift where it was just about me and my child. And I got really, really, really good at establishing boundaries in my personal life. Like once you tell your mama no, you could tell anybody no. Like really. I tell my mama no. Now, what I shared with the group yesterday is that telling your family members no is not an easy process. It does, like when you are a heart-led person, because I am a heart-led person, I care for people, the people that I know. Let me be clear. I care. Like if I love you, I love you. If you ride with me, I ride with you. I love you. I love you. I love really hard. I love love. That has been a downfall of mine too. Like I love love. I love being in love. I love creating comfortable spaces and making the people around me feel loved, right? So, um, when you are that way, it's hard to tell people no. You will feel conflicted in it. I have many stories, and then I'm gonna get into like the flip side of how people then make you the bad person because you have boundaries. But I'm just telling y'all this to let you know, like this is the process. But you have to go through this process in order to show up better in your personal life to then eventually show up in your professional life. So when I started telling my mama no, and I was saying it on a consistent basis, no, we're not coming over there. No, we're not doing that. No, I can't come over and do that for you. No, you can't come over. I can't do your hair for free. No, you can't, blah, 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 whatever the no was. Um, my mom, not so much in the early years, not that I was aware of, more so in the later years, she would throw tantrums, like literal tantrums. So then I had to get used to just letting her throw them. She'll be okay. She'll live. And mind you, these are things that I never even experienced with my own child. My child's like, she didn't do none of this stuff. So for me, going through this by myself in a silo, because don't nobody else see what I see. No one else experiences what I experience, right? Because I get this version of my mother when I'm with her by myself. It was almost like, am I being punked? Like, what is happening here? But it would look like my mom showing up at my house unannounced, knocking on the door. Rule number one that I learned from my mama is you never show up to anyone's house unannounced. She would show up at my house unannounced. Keep in mind now, we still have a very, 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 very strained relationship. She would show up at my house unannounced. I would look through the peephole at her. I remember this. I would watch her. And she would just be knocking. She would just knock and she would knock. And then she'll eventually tire herself out. That was a tantrum. I'm sharing it as that was a tantrum. She would knock and she would knock and she would knock. And I was just standing there looking through the peephole. She knew I was in there because she saw my car. And then she would leave. And then we will proceed with our Saturday morning, me and my daughter, and eat cereal and chill and let my baby watch cartoons or whatever the hottest thing was on cable at that time. And so but in order to get there, because it was the early times, I was like, I should let yeah, you shouldn't be doing this. And so then even when I would like tell friends of mine, like, oh yeah, my mom came over the other day, I left her at the peephole. They be like, what? How you leave? I remember people like being, she leave her mama at the door. She watch her mama through the peephole. How can you do that? Right. And so so that started like the narrative of me hearing from people, you so mean. And why you so mean? And you so mean. And blah, 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 blah. Even though I used to hear something similar like that in high school all the time, but it was because I was introverted and I only talked to people that are my closest crew. If I didn't know you, if I didn't know you, I'm not gonna talk to you. It's like I got to know you. Right. So I was used to hearing that. And so now, and I work really hard. That's why I used to be so I didn't say this earlier. That's why I used to be so concerned about what people thought about me because people always perceived me as mean when in reality, fast forward when I have words for it, it was that I was introverted and I wasn't mean. And it was a good friend of mine who would tell people that like, Martha, you ain't mean. She's really, really sweet. And I really am. I'm a bear. Like my ex used to call me Cedar Bear because he's like, you ain't nothing but a big old honey bear. I am when you get to know me. Like once I get to know you and I know that you're safe, I'm sweet. But until then, you're gonna get reserved Marthea because I don't know you. I don't know if you're safe. I'm not gonna be doing all of that. And I just met you 2 minutes ago. So anyway, fast forward. So I'm now carrying this. Oh, she mean. Oh, she let the mama out there. Oh no, how could you do that? And so these are the backlash that I'm talking about that you will get because people who don't have boundaries in their own life won't understand you establishing boundaries in your life and what that process even looks like. So because I was used to hearing that in high school and middle school, even in elementary school, as a young adult, I was okay with hearing it. Yeah, I mean, yeah, I sure am. Fast forward, because I mastered that with my mother, I then began to do that in my relationships, right? Because I had a wonderful relationship with my daughter's father. However, fast forward, I had multiple other relationships since then. And so, not even, yeah, with relationships. It will be like, people asking you for things again. Me and my boundaries are established based on what you know, is this a partnership? Are we doing this together? Or do you just want me to overgive, 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 and I can't ask you for nothing? Right? So that's how I'm establishing this. So, like, if we're doing this together, if you're doing the same, if I feel like I can get the same back from you, and it ain't about having, I've heard somebody recently say, like, the people of the day want transactional relationships. I'm to the point where, yeah, I kind of do want it to be transactional. Because I don't know another word to explain it. Because I've been on the end where the people just take and take and take and take and take and take from me, and I can't even get you to give me 5% of the 200% that I gave you. And not because I'm looking for it, it's because I needed it, right? So yeah, I do want a transactional relationship. I do want transactional friendships. I do want transactional any kind of relationship, right? You can't always come and want me. And this is Martha and her boundaries, right? And if you still dealing with not even acknowledging that you're a people pleaser, this will sound like, oh, she is mean. No, this is because I have lived and seen life, and it ain't just my own life. I've seen it in other people's life. I've seen people die, lose their life from overgiving, for being people who like literally die from being overloaded from just too much of other people's stuff. I've seen it. I know someone close to me who did. And I honestly believe she died at an early age because she overgave of herself to the point where she had nothing. She did it in her job every day. She did it in her personal life every day. Every day. She was a shell of a person. She had nothing else. And that ain't gonna be me. So for me, it looks like in my relationships, um, do blah 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 for me. Nah, I can't do it. I ain't doing it. I ain't doing it. I don't want to do it, and I ain't gonna do it. I'm not gonna do it now, and I'm not gonna do it in the future. Oh, you're so mean. Why mean? Because I couldn't ask you for the same thing. And not that I ever asked anyone, and this is because I had such a horrible experience early on with my mom, I became the person who don't ask people for help. That ain't good. I'm not telling you to do that. But I'm not saying do that. However, I've tried it a few times, relying on others, and they never come through. I'm working on that. I see my counselor regularly, right? We're working through that. Um, however, though, yeah, like if you ain't gonna, if I feel, not even feel, if I ask you for the same thing back and you tell me no, then I'm not doing that anymore for you. No, we're not doing that. No, I can't help you. Ask someone else. I could share maybe a resource with you, but it ain't gonna be me. So I don't like. exes. I'm not picking you up. I'm not taking you nowhere. I'm not doing none of that. Can I rely on you to come get me? Probably not. This conversation has quickly went off the rails. This is why I need an outline. But I really want to talk about I'm gonna start there because I feel like I'm telling y'all too much. But and I might not release this, but I'm gonna say you need boundaries. And boundaries in your professional life start in your personal life. And that's why when they talk about it at trainings in your job, you are very dismissive of it, is because you don't have healthy boundaries in your personal life. And just know and understand when you're starting to work and establish and maintain healthy boundaries in your personal life, people will make you out to be the bad guy, the bad person. It's okay. They will live. But you know what? Your life will get better. It really truly does. The more boundaries you establish for yourself, the more boundaries you maintain for yourself, your life really truly does improve. My life got better. Like, clearly, I don't care what people think about me anymore. I'm on the internet some way, shape, form, or fashion. I don't care. I don't care what you think. I don't care what you feel. I don't care how you perceive me. It's not my job. I'm not trying to convince you. I go out to eat by myself. I travel by myself. I go run errands by myself. I'm not concerned about our people talking about me, but I'm naming this because for you, that may be a very real reality for you. And it's keeping you small, right? At the root of it all, it's keeping you small. It's keeping you from not actualizing the destiny that has been established for you. And you got to, and before you can start talking about boundaries in your professional life, you got to address it in your personal life. So the next time the people are asking you to do things that you really want to say no to, but you say yes out of obligation, out of loyalty, out of fear what they would think, out of fear of them being mad at you, out of fear being called mean, out of fear being called selfish, out of fear not being called supportive, whatever your thing, insert your thing. Know and understand that you are a little puppet and your life will never be your own life until you cut the strings. And how do you cut the strings, Marthea? By saying no. No, I ain't gonna do it. I don't want to do it. Actually, I'm so good at saying no. So good at saying no. I don't even realize I be saying no. I just like, no, I'm not coming. No, I'm not doing it. Don't sign me up. Like I have my little ways of saying it. Don't put me on the list. All right. Before they even think of the idea, I'm not coming. Don't worry about me. Don't worry about me and mine. We good. Like I will ignore people in a minute. I will ignore you. But hey, my life has grown tremendously. I have blossomed. I am a whole different version than that 18, 19-year-old Marthea. I am a whole another person. I love it here. I want you to experience the same thing. Free yourself. Free yourself. Start establishing those boundaries, getting the practice in your personal life. Start small. Start small. Maybe it's a cousin that wants you to talk on the phone with her every night. And like these are real things I'm gonna tell you. Maybe it's your cousin, maybe it's your friend that only calls you when their person, their man or their woman or whoever their person is, their partner aren't around and they're bored and they're out shopping. And next thing you know, they have you on the phone for 4 hours keeping them company while they run errands or be at home. And then the minute their person comes home, they get off the phone with you and you can't talk to them. You like you got an emergency crisis of your own. You can't get them on the phone because they over there hanging out with Billy or Tyrone. Next time he or she calls, tell them you not, hey, I'm busy. I'll call you back. And just leave it like that, right? Those are little ways that when you could tell that the person won't reciprocate the same thing back for you. Another example, I have a good friend of mine. I talked to her about. I've been talking to her for years, but she coming into herself, right? She's coming into herself. But I've been talking to her for years about how You go over and beyond for everybody else. You be at everybody else stuff, and they don't never be at yours. When you gonna slow down on that? Like when are you gonna prioritize yourself in your situation over here? Because you got a whole situation that you need to be nurturing, right? And so I just want to say, like, it shows up like that. If you have people who you're always at their stuff and they're never at your stuff, you need to establish some boundaries. If they are always calling you and you always answer and you're losing hours where you need to be job searching, but you're on the phone chit chatting, clack lacking with them. But when you have an emergency, you can't get them on the phone to save your life. You need to reevaluate that. You need some boundaries. If somebody is asking you to do something that hurts you, puts you in danger, that's very real in romantic relationships, but y'all ain't ready for that conversation, right? If you're with somebody in a romantic relationship and they have you doing some stuff that jeopardize your freedom, jeopardize your health, jeopardize your safety, jeopardize your sanity, you need to reevaluate that situation. You can't talk about doing it in your professional life when you don't do it at home. All right, let me go. Let me get off here. This has been an action-packed conversation. Next time I'm gonna come with an outline. I'm not gonna be on here talking to y'all about all of this. But if it helped you, seriously, this Martha is just joking. If this conversation helped you, find me on the internet. Let me know. It's confidential. I won't tell other people you told me, but help me help you. Does this help? Did this conversation help? Did this conversation make you think of something differently? Find me on the internet. The link is down in the bottom of the episode show notes, macroandpay.com. Let me know. Message me on Instagram, DM me, do something. I love when y'all come and find me and say, that helped me. I love when you talked about blah, blah, blah. I got a lot of stories. But yeah, in order to get healthy boundaries in your professional life, you got to start in your profession, in your personal life. Even with your kids, I just thought of another example. Maybe you had kids. Some of y'all let y'all kids stay at the 2, 3 in the morning in elementary school. Why? They need to be in bed at 8:30 p.m. How you get up and go to school every day and you went to bed at 2 a.m.? I think all the way up to high school, they need to be in bed by 8:30 p.m. They have to get up early to go to school. They have tests. They have standardized tests and all of the things. Boundaries is you have an established bedtime. It's time to go to bed. Everything shut down. Homework should have been done. Dinner should have been eaten. You should have had, if you let your kids watch TV during the week, you should have had TV time. My daughter didn't watch TV during the school week. I think I told y'all that. She didn't. And she's a full-grown young adult now who has graduated from high school. And the one thing she talks to me about repeatedly is the fact that she's so thankful that I didn't let her watch TV growing up. But you know the ridicule I got from people about that when I be like, oh, my daughter don't watch TV during the week. What? Boundaries. Boundaries. We had so much homework back then. When is she gonna watch TV? If your kid's watching TV, that means y'all ain't did a lick of homework. Look, I'm going on a whole another conversation. Maybe if you're a pet parent, the boundary is if you know you don't want your dog or your cats on the sofa or sitting on your keyboard, then stop letting them do that. Boundaries. You can start wherever you are. You can start wherever you are. All right, y'all. Happy macro career planning. Bye.